What's up, family? What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode. This is the 25th installment, if you will, of Bible study with an ex-pastor. And this is the absolute first time that we're actually going live. And so I've never actually gone live with the Bible study with an ex-pastor. It has always been pre-recorded and then premiered so that I could participate in the chat and kind of participate in the conversation as well. But in this case, you know, hey, it's live, and there's a reason for this. Okay, so if I haven't said so already, what's going on, everybody in the chat? Of course, as you're coming in, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that alert notification bell, and then, you know, consider finding a way to connect to this community that makes sense to you. There are a myriad of ways, which we go into detail about every Sunday in our Sunday sessions. But yeah, I think I hit everything. Oh yeah, we have merch. We have some of the dopest merch in the game. Our merch is absolutely sick, and like, check it out for yourself. I'm not going to belabor the point. I am so glad to have y'all in here with me today. We completed the book of Genesis last week, and what a journey has it been, what a journey it has been. And you know, I really want to say, your boy is going to try not to get emotional here, but I do want to say just how much I appreciate the amount of support and the amount of conversation that has been generated by this show. Like, you all are absolutely amazing. Some of you have brought some great things to the discussion in the comments and in the chat, and it's been a beautiful progress, you know, a beautiful process. I mixed that word up. And interesting for me, and y'all let me know if I would say let me know if my fan is too loud, but I'm not gonna do anything about it if it is, because that's the only way I can stay a little cool. But yeah, dang it, I was saying something and I got distracted. The fan coming. See, this is what you get me live, but let's just be honest, even when I pre-record, you're gonna get this as well. And that's just somewhat of a commitment to authenticity. I don't feel like I need to clean me up. I am who I am. So if I forget, I'm just gonna say, you know what, damn it, I forgot. I chased that rabbit and now I don't know where I started at. That wascally rabbit. Oh man, it's been you know what, Moonbeam Goddess, I had to make sure I read it right. It has been fascinating for me. I always try to remind people at the beginning of these episodes that these are not theological deep dives by a long shot. And truth be told, this is more therapy than theology, in the sense of just having the freedom to freely think about these stories, you know, which I know for many of us on the other side of life, you did not have such a freedom. You couldn't, you know, you had to hear these stories the way whatever particular denomination you were in, or whatever particular pastor you were following, you know, you had to interpret these scriptures through the lens that they interpreted them. And God forbid if you wanted to read something and say, now that's just bullshit right there, because then, like, you're the Antichrist. And so this is why I think these segments are so helpful, because it just allows people to breathe over it. And it does two things, right? On one hand, that breathing allows you to call out the bullshit when you see it, you know? And it's just like the more freedom you have to call out the bullshit, the more comfortable you even become, possibly recognizing any lines of beauty that may exist. Which and I try to, I try to stay within that nuance of calling out both the bullshit and the beauty. Now that would make one hell of a TV show. Oh, I have so many plots running through my mind about that. Okay, so in this one, I get it. I think the title of this one is a little misleading. Well, no, not the title, just the graphic. The title is right. This is the Genesis wrap up. And then there is a revelation. So I have an announcement to make. Oh, snap, paying homages in the building. I don't know what that just did to the sound, but if it fucked it up, I'm sorry. I can't take that back. This is live. And again, even if it wasn't live, guess what? I would not edit it out because, well, number one, part of that is authenticity. Okay. Part of that is authenticity, which I've said, but there's another part of that is like, no, I ain't got time to be editing this shit. No, like I have 4 kids and I have a full-time job and I'm still pursuing certificates and shit like that outside of this. This is this is therapy for me, This is my therapy time. All right, yeah, I chased another rabbit and got my ass right off topic. Nope, I'm back. I have an announcement. Are y'all ready for this? I dropped a subtle hint, or maybe not so subtle, but a subtle hint in the graphic for today's episode. Did anybody see it? Like, I don't even remember what it looks like. I got to go back to I'm on the wrong computer. Okay, but I think the graphic is like from serpents to dragons in Genesis. Did anybody see that? From serpents to dragons in Genesis. That actually has something to do with today's announcement. Because today will not be the last time that we'll be doing Bible study with an ex-pastor live. All right? From this moment on, Bible study with an ex-pastor will not only be live, but next week, and here's the announcement, next week I'll be joined by a special co-host, Jason from Dragons in Genesis. Oh man, that's kind of exciting. Oh snap! Paying homage just said me and Kyle are the atheist wonder twins, and like now I can't get the image out of my mind. Like atheist wonder twins, you activate, or something. They say something. But yeah. See there. This is going to be absolutely phenomenal. Jason and I have been talking back and forth a little bit over the past few weeks. And it's interesting, before he and I started talking, other people had already mentioned the idea. Other people had kind of already seeded it in the comments. And it was like, oh man, because we both do kind of Bible studies. And I think having Jason on for a conversation, let me stop being modest. Not for one conversation. Jason is going to be our co-host for the entire book of Exodus. He's extremely excited about it. He already has some thoughts, and like, y'all, I'm kind of low-key amped about this too. Like, this is dope. Even though I am just at this moment noticing that my camera seems kind of crooked, but I'm not gonna mess with it right now. I'm gonna leave it alone. But this is gonna be dope, man. This is gonna be absolutely amazing. And this is, man, if I was still a believer, I'd say this was nobody but God. This was nobody but God. Because y'all have heard me talking over the past few weeks about how I really wanted to get some other people in partnership in what we're doing. Look at that. Right? And look, and now it's going to be hard to ignore. I'm sorry. Yeah, this is going to be absolutely amazing. I think it's going to be like, I'm excited. Jason is excited. I think this is good for a lot of reasons. You know what I'm saying? Number one, it's like an ebony and ivory type vibe. You know what I'm saying? And I ain't never mad at that. World peace. We are the world, MJ style. But also on a very real serious front, Jason and I, like, Jason comes from, if I'm not mistaken, which, you know, which he'll get to tell his story a little bit when we hit live next week. But Jason comes from a Catholic background, and I come from right, Tone G. Look at God, and I come from a I come from a charismatic background. And so, like, you don't get two more opposites of the extremes within Christianity than that. And so this is going to be like amazing. And then also, Jason brings, a real subject matter expertise on the side of the mythology and the mythological correlations with other cultures. And so this is going to be mythology and sociology combined, all within that ebony ivory swag. Like, this is like, I'm super excited about this. I know Jason is. So for those of you who are just coming in, from now on, or at least for the entire book of Exodus, the ex-pastor Bible study with an ex-pastor will be live instead of pre-recorded and premiered. And we will have a special co-host throughout the entire book of Exodus, and that will be Jason from Dragons in Genesis. Yes, let us celebrate. Now we feast. Hot ones. Now I'm thinking about wings. I should not have done that to myself. Oh man. Yes, charismatic atheist meets Catholic atheist. Nice. It's like that one joke about the guy from Northern Ireland. Oh my goodness. This is hilarious. So yeah, I'm super excited, and so we're actually going to start that next week. We're going to start that next week, starting with the book of Exodus chapter 1. And like, I don't want to blow it, but like, he's already given me just a little bit of the reasons why he's excited about this Exodus into Exodus. And look who's in the chat. Look. Hi, all you beautiful people. I'm acting like I can't do this, but I can do this. Look at there. That's amazing. This thing is going down. Like, I am super duper excited. I could not be more excited than this. Man. Wow. See, like, I'm telling you, Titan, that's how the Lord works. Now let me stop. Nope. I'm just getting them prepped. I am getting them prepped. Oh man, and I shouldn't have started putting comments on the screen because I'm not going to keep doing it. I love y'all, but I can't. Not while going live. Man. Yes, Prince of Egypt. What's that other one? Moses. There's a whole bunch of movies out there to go ahead and get prepped for. Like, we should. I'm almost tempted to do to start planning some movie nights around all of the Exodus-based movies in the Discord. It's crazy. Oh man. Was our perfect haircuts. Yes. That every time. Even though I need to shave, but I think as far as my head, now I always need to shave my beard, but that's just something I just don't give a damn about. But my head, like, that's normally why I wear a hat if I'm not shaving. But the light and the heat in here is just misty enough where it kind of covers it up. Oh yeah, the 10 Commandments. Was that the Charleston Heston? And man. Yes. Oh yeah. See, there's so many movies. There's so many. Oh man. Dang it. Now I wish we would have watched the Noah movie when going through the Genesis thing. Like, that would have been fun. Oh man, this is so cool. Yep. Okay, I thought so. Yeah, I just remember that because, like, my great aunt used to watch that a lot, and I just could not. Maybe for cinematic reasons it had appeal, but as a kid watching it, I was like, this is the most boring movie ever. But that's just how I was as a kid. Maybe I'd watch it now and I'd be like, oh, this is fantastic. Because I did have that experience with Color Purple. As a kid watching Color Purple, I'm like, oh my goodness, why are the adults watching this? But then when I watched it again as an adult, I was like, holy fuck, this movie is deep. And so You go through those nuances. You go through those nuances. Oh man. Oh, I got stuff popping up all over the place. So I did want to do some things a little different for this one. And of course, I'm not going to stay very long. My air conditioner is still out. It is scheduled to be completed Monday. Let's just hope people do what they're supposed to do, you know. And then just to, you know, maybe one of you, somebody out there works in the, you know, HVAC field, because like the problem was there was a part that they had to order. And I'm just trying to figure out, why does overnight and express shipping, why is that an option for everybody else, but not the maintenance crew? Like, somebody just help me understand. Help me. And I'm not mad. I'm just hot. I'm just hot. And my temperature is connected to my temperament. All right. Oh man, thank you for hanging out with us, Jason, man. I cannot wait till next week to where we kick this thing off. Yes, man. I was 12 and watched Purple Rain. I was like, oh yeah, I had quite a few movies like that. I think New Jack City was one of those movies for me, especially the scene where they were doing Color Me Bad. Ooh, I don't know if that's the one. That might be the wrong one. It was similar to that, but yeah, there was a scene in there with Nino Brown and old boy, his brother's girl is in there dancing in front of him. It was horrible. I mean, just from a relationship standpoint, it was horrible. But for a prepubescent, you know, kid, Mel, it was like, holy crap, they're showing the goods, and you know, that's life. That was right. Paying homage. Man, hey, look, that was, oh man. To this day, I can still watch New Jack City though. Like, that's that's a thing for me. Am I my brother's keeper? Man, you a youngster. Hey, what you say? What you say? It's starting to catch up with me though. It's starting to catch up with me. So as we're kind of wrapping up this series, and I see that some of you have filled out the poll, I appreciate that. I love that y'all are participating in the polls every week. That's fucking amazing to me. I started doing something. I was going to talk to y'all about some stuff out of Wikipedia, and then I said, you know what? I want to keep it a little more low key. Oh, the 5 heartbeats for damn show. You know, like, I would sing one of the songs, but all of their songs you got to sing so hard, so I feel like I'd have to, like, you know, grab the mic and like, and I don't want to burst nobody's eardrums, and the notes are gonna be wrong. The Apollo scene, yes. Oh man, look, Willie Muse. I'm gonna. Oh yes. Okay. So what I'm doing is, yeah, I did sing. I did. Oh man, I sang. I sang my ass off in church, you know, man. Oh man, choir boy, what you? Oh, bruh, they throwing the tomatoes at him and everything coming across the stage, and he hit that high note and he throw that hand up in the air. What? Like, hey, I was in there. You don't want to watch 5 heartbeats with me. I'm gonna be saying all the lines. I'm gonna be singing all the parts. Which, oh man, okay. So see, now y'all, because that was actually one of the lines. You know, one of them is, I wrote all the parts. Another part is, he had us singing all the parts. You know, so it's always great. It's all, dang it. Now y'all have this stuck in my mind. Today, nights like this, I wish raindrops would fall. Like, that was, oh man, like I felt every bit of that scene. Every bit of that scene, man. Like, oh my goodness. Oh. Nick Cage version of Left Behind. I do remember that. I think the most accurate Christian film that I've ever seen was a comedy movie called Saved. And it was meant to be a parody, but boy, they got Christianity just right in that. Who was it, baby? What was her name? My wife is in the chat. Is that Mandy Moore? that led the cast on that. It's like Mandy Moore, Macaulay Culkin, and man, they just, holy crap, they hit the nail like right on the head. It was amazing. It was amazing. So what I started doing in preparation for this kind of wrap up is, and maybe we'll do this. I don't know. We'll see. I started going through my notes because I still have sermons in some of my folders, and I still have actually the 10 years that I was in the closet as an atheist. I was still writing sermons for pastors. That was one thing that I've been doing probably about 15 years, ghostwriting for other preachers, typically because they were busy, and got caught up in stuff. And it was, it was easy for me to do, and it helped me keep food on the table. So I wasn't mad at it. It's much like, being a ghostwriter for anybody else, and very much like being a speechwriter, which is what I did. So, and it's funny because I haven't written sermons for me in so long that most of the sermons that I was finding when I was doing this were sermons that I'd written for other pastors. Like, is that ghostwriting for preachers is crazy, right? Like, it's the thing. Like, man, but you'd be surprised how many preachers have ghostwriters. Like, and we don't call them ghostwriters, you know what I'm saying? But that's what it is, And then there are like there are pastors, and I'll say this one publicly because this is like, he doesn't hide it, and it's Bishop Ivy Hillyard. I think the name of his church was New Light Church. I never understood why they named their church after a Chinese buffet, but hey, it is what it is. But it was New Light Church, and they're down in Texas. They're one of the Texas mega churches, and that's like, if you join his connection, which I think is like the apostles something, if you join his connections, and of course you pay him a certain amount every month, that's one of the benefits, is that you get access to all of his sermons so that you can preach them as your own. I think it's in Houston. I thought so, paying homage. I thought so, man. Yep, that's him, old Bishop Ivy. If he don't look like a smooth pimp player, pimp named Slickback, I don't know who else does. And I've actually met Bishop years ago, and I didn't have any problems with him, but probably because back then I was never caught up in the prosperity gospel, but I was definitely caught up in the just in urban church period. That was my thing. And so anybody who was talking about spiritual gifts and it was urban, I was like, dang. Top 5 taken out of context. Heck yeah. But I often reminded people, like, the whole gig of preaching is literally preaching somebody else's words. So it's not really a departure to have somebody else write those words for you. Like, I remember getting very frustrated. I think that's one of the most liberating things about no longer being a Christian pastor is, like, I no longer have to limit what I talk about to 66 books. And that shit was aggravating. Man. Yep, I thought he was still hanging around. Sharing is caring. Oh, I love that. I love that. Kirk Cameron. I did see the Kirk Cameron Left Behind series. I was a fan. Unfortunately, I was one of those kids who literally read all of the books and was super excited when I could see the movies. And like, it's very cringe to me now, just thinking that. So I'm just gonna share. I'm not about to preach to y'all, but I do want to share a few things that I did, because this is what I did. I just went through my notes and typed in a few of the characters' names from the book of Genesis that we've dealt with. So this one, I think I did Noah. And so I did, and I can't tell if this is one I preached or not. Yep, this is one I preached. I can tell this is, the reason I can tell this is one I preached is because I don't have any scripting notes in it. And like the last few years that I was actively preaching, I had shifted away from scripting. I am a very transcripted speaker for the most part. There's a word for it, and it escapes me right now, but it's extemporaneous. I think that's the word. That may be the word, but that's the type of speaker that I am, which means I keep a transcript, but I don't stick to it. The transcript is typically there for me as a reminder because, as you know, I rabbit trail like a motherfucker. Because this is what I'm doing right now. This is technically a rabbit trail. To be honest, all of my videos are just rabbit trails, and I'm so glad that y'all be out here hanging out with me. I'm so glad that y'all be hanging out with me. I'm laughing at the comments and trying not to get distracted. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that y'all love these rabbit trails because I be like, man, they're gonna be aggravated at me. And we're like, bro, if you don't get to the point. But so I'm an extemporaneous type of speaker, which means I have notes, but my notes are really there just to kind of keep me reeled in. And so I really only use heavy transcripts when it's a very formal setting. If it's not formal, and typically by that time church was no longer formal to me, so I didn't use transcripts as much. I just had bullet points, which was typically just the scriptures, and this one is literally just the scriptures. But just to give me insight, because that's a part of what Bible study with the next pastor is, giving you a little bit of insight into how I used to think and how I used to phrase some of this stuff. And I took the story of Noah, Genesis chapter 7, or I just took the part of in Genesis chapter 7, verses 23 through 24, and I preached a message entitled, "Can You Stand the Rain?" That was one of the messages that I preached. And I let me see if I can see a history on this. I don't know when I preached this. I don't know. It's so old that I can't see a history. But can you stand the rain? Now, if that's not one hell of a way to flip the Noah story, then, I don't know what else is. But that's also my way of kind of reminding you about this thing that I've done, which I haven't done a TikTok theology video in a while. But in the TikTok theology videos, we kind of walk through actual TikTok preaching where people have clips of their favorite preachers sharing this message. And if you notice, there's a commonality in all of the messages, and it's typically trauma bonding. Much of preaching, especially in the Black church, has become trauma porn. Life is hard, but Jesus is a savior. Like Jesus is he's the pizza delivery guy. I don't know. Keith's, oh, that is hilarious. Oh my goodness. oh. Hell no, right? Oh, that's why I like that other song. It never rains in Southern California. Trauma bonding on crack. I love, you know what? Paying homage. That's what I'm gonna start doing from now on. Instead of calling you by your screen name, I'm going past the Blunt. Pastor Blunt is in the building. Pastor Blunt. God damn it. I wish I would have thought of that first. I really do. I'm a little jealous. I'm low-key jealous. Like, I had to look into the screen to say that shit. Like, I'm low-key jealous. But yeah, so that was Can You Stand the Rain, which a major part of urban preaching is trying to find ways to modernize and contemporize this aspect of preaching to make it relatable. And so in the urban churches, like, you notice that our sermon titles weren't stuff like, 5 ways to get more faithful in Jesus. That really wasn't what we were teaching. Nor were we doing stuff like, what the end times are really trying to tell you. Like, urban churches stayed so far away from that shit because we kind of figured that those people were lunatics, and we just didn't realize that, like, well, hey, if they're lunatics for drinking the Kool-Aid, we're drinking the same damn shit, bro. We're just getting a different high. That's all. It's the same lunacy. It's just a different high. But we did, and that is one of the things that I did appreciate about the urban churches, is that they did try. They tried to relate. But that's what we were trying to do. We were trying to be relevant. We were trying to build that bridge of contemporization and somehow make the faith make sense, which is also admitting that the faith doesn't make sense, But yeah. I had the first lady say, when God moves, I move, just like that. Yes, these are things that we did, and we did them. Oh God. I had another one. Now, this was a later series. This was a later series that I wrote for another pastor who was doing a series by the name of Surviving the Storm. And so he wanted me to write a sermon for him. Right. I loved it too. Like, I still get kind of hype. It's just when they start, getting to the bullshit that I'd be like, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and roll out. Guess it's time for me to hit the old dusty road, hit the old dusty highway. Um, but so I did, and by this time, mind you, I was still a full-blown atheist, or I was still writing, I was still ghostwriting sermons while I was a full-blown atheist, and some of the pastors that I was writing for absolutely knew that. One of those pastors to this day tries to get me to, well, I won't say to this day, to this year, was trying to get me to come and, be one of his campus pastors. And I just told him, like, look, I don't mind writing scripts because I write fiction all day, every day for the most part. If you haven't bought my book, Memphis, yet, I don't know what you're waiting on because it's incredible. And just it is a testament to how deranged my mind really can be. Now, let me stop. But no, go check it out. So I write fiction, so I don't have any problem doing this. And honestly, I didn't have any problem. I wouldn't have had any problem performing this either. I wouldn't have had problem if he said, hey, come preach for me one time. I would have preached it my way and would have balanced it and would have kind of given this very practical message. But this idea of me coming and being a campus pastor for me, that to me was beyond performance. That was beyond just writing a script. That would be me having to play a part long term and then just play a part in giving bad advice, which I'm just not gonna do. Absolutely. Jim Jones would have definitely been that. Yikes, right? But yes, Jim Jones would have absolutely been an early church, an early urban church, along with I don't know if y'all know Reverend Ike, which I think they still put Reverend Ike clips on YouTube. Which Reverend Ike, man, like he was ahead of his time. I think if anybody ever does if anybody does a deep investigation, I think they will find out that Reverend Ike absolutely was an atheist. But he absolutely was one of the earliest proponents of what became known as the prosperity gospel. A lot of the prosperity preachers, though they won't give him credit because he didn't necessarily identify as the same type of Christian that there was, and that he didn't believe in a God in the sky. He believed in the God of your mind. That's kind of how he talked. But he was definitely prosperity centric, and a lot of if you go back and watch any of Reverend Ike's stuff, and again, it's all on YouTube, your whole experience with watching any of his clips will be like that meme with Leonardo DiCaprio pointing like, "Holy crap, I recognize that," because you're definitely gonna hear like you're going to hear Creflo Dollar. You're going to hear Kenneth Copeland. You're going to hear not Joel Osteen, but John Osteen. Joel Osteen preaches more of a prosperity-like gospel. It's, they get locked up in the same category, but the heavy prosperity stuff, like the Kenneth Copeland, Creflo Dollars, and I mean, that they kind of label themselves in those manners as well, even though Creflo has moved over to the grace thing. He's been shifting there. Actually, for over the past 20 years, not really sure why, but, he's been doing it. All right, let me kind of check in and see what's going on. All right, good. A noble lie. Ooh. Who are you, Frank Sinatra? I love that. Oh, yeah, please check it out. I'm actually working on part 2 now. I am going to start sharing some books. I'm actually, well, I can share some books too. Actually, yeah, there are certain Patreon levels that get free books. I never thought about giving Memphis out in that, but I could. Is Memphis the Last Supper? But I am going to start doing some videos just introducing people who are interested into the characters and the worlds that exist in that franchise. Which, oh man, it's like, don't get me started talking about Memphis. Don't get me started. Oh man. Preaching that with his last name, right? Like that's just Creflo Dollar. Somebody said Creflo Dollar, let the free dollar flow. Come on now. In the words of Jay Wick, come on, somebody, you know. But I love it. I love it. Creflo's my dollars. Oh man. Were you the person? Eo, did you say that earlier? Because I feel like you said that before, because this is deja vu. Because I was like, holy crap, I've got to start using that. As a matter of fact, that's what I'm going to say to the warranty company. This is really Creflo in my dollars, man. Oh, that's a saying. This Creflo is my dollars. I don't know about you, but this Creflo is my dollars. Oh, man, that's, let me build it. I got to say it just a few more times. This absolutely Creflo is my dollars. This fucking Creflo's my dollars. No, let me try that one again. This Creflo's my fucking dollars, man. Yep, that's a winner. That's a winner. It's too good not to use. It's too good not to use. And by the rulers as useful. I'm very familiar with that quote. Oh man. Oh. That's not a bad idea. Maya said, got it. I know, like it's hilarious. It's hilarious. So I wrote him a sermon called I'm Building a Boat. So he wanted to write a sermon called, or he wanted a series called Surviving the Storm. And he was so like weirded out, like not in a bad way. He was like, I'm in awe of what you did here. And it was because I was content, like our intent on seeding as much progressive ideology into these sermons that I was writing for them in this moment as I could without it being like overly apparent. And so I wrote this sermon called I'm Building a Boat, which was basically in the series, it was walking them through, or the sermon walks through this idea of properly responding to the storm. And like there's a line in it, whoever's pointing you to the storm but not pointing you to the solution is the scam artist. The person who truly believes that there's a storm is coming is going to occupy their time building something that will withstand the storm. It was type of flow. And so I was proud of it back then, proud of it, up until the point I got to the place where I was just like, all right, I don't want to write sermons anymore. And it wasn't even because I was an atheist. It's such a limited scope. If you're an artist and you know that you have an infinite amount of colors to choose from, why would you want to be limited to just 66? And so as a person who absolutely loves information, absolutely loves literature, who absolutely loves just our people relationships with information, this is why sociology drew me in. As a person who loves that, like 66 books is not enough. And to have to talk about those 66 books for 20 years straight, like that is like, bruh, I don't want to do it. And so like I didn't stop ghostwriting but because of integrity issues. Again, I don't mind writing fiction. I don't mind at all. I kind of get a thrill from it. For this, it was I don't write sermons anymore for preachers primarily because it's just it's a limited paint bucket. I don't want to be limited to 66 books. And even as a pastor, I was kind of that way. I did a lot to integrate other, especially like Black History Month. That was my beast mode month. Black History Month, I was introducing James Baldwin. I was introducing Martin Delaney. I was talking about Jean-Jacques Dessalines and just trying to challenge people to wrestle with things and see things in different ways. Oh, man. Hey, yeah, Exodus is going to be on point. But you know what? That's what I love about YouTube though. You can miss these and then catch them later. Oh, 666, the number of the beast. Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Yeah, I'm catching up. They keep trying to come up with ways to expand on it with devotionals and Sunday school books. Yeah, like it's You're just still left with the 66. Now I get the 666 reference. Okay, I'm slow, but I'm worth waiting on. I'm back. But yes, it's just like, oh my, like, especially like when Christmas and Easter come along, because then you're expected to preach about the birth of Jesus. Like, okay, don't you know this fucking story by now? Why do I have to preach? Like, we've been preaching these. And so, like, yeah. And so, like, literally the last 5 years that I was ghostwriting, those were two that I refused to do. If you wanted me to write about the birth of Jesus or the death of Jesus, I just couldn't do it. And again, that had nothing to do with my atheism. There just wasn't enough nuance that I could really put into that to enjoy painting that. You know what I'm saying? So there's that one. Man. Okay, I got to see. Okay, we're good. We got a little bit more time. Some scholars, the number of the beast may actually be 616. I have seen that. Oh man, that is funny. That is funny. Oh, Claude, I got so many jokes there. All right, another one. This was for another pastor. Oh man. All right. So one of my moderators, it seems that we have a troll that just jumped in here. And the beauty of the thing is I only know this person is a troll because he jumped on Tim Mills' thing earlier. So will one of y'all go ahead and escort Otangelo on out? Oh, actually, I know who this person is too. Yeah, we will ignore him until one of the moderators, excuses him. But yeah, so this was another pastor, and this is when I was like on the edge trying to do as much as I could to throw some stuff in there. So this pastor asked me to write him an entire series. And I was actually interested that this one popped up because this one was about, I took Genesis chapter 26, verses 18 through 22, which is about Isaac, what is Isaac doing? Oh, Isaac redigging the wells. And so I wrote an entire, Nat Turner. Yes, I love Nat Turner. Oh, I see Don is in. What's up? Genesis, how did they know the laws before they were told about? Right. Oh man, this is fun. So I wrote him a series, and when you hear this series title, you'll know that this wasn't that long ago. The name of the series was Fake News That's Not in the Bible. Fake News That's Not in the Bible. And I love it. Well, shoot, have at it then. I ain't mad at it. And I think this is the first one, or at least this is the one that pulled up when I typed in Abraham's name. Is I Dug Deeper was what we named this message. And I'm actually going to read a brief part of this introduction. As we turn our attention to the book of Genesis, chapter 26, verses 18 through 22, here we find Isaac, the son of Abraham, in a season of rediscovery and reclamation. The wells his father dug, once flowed with life-giving water, were filled with earth by the Philistine, symbols of resistance and opposition to the blessings God had promised Isaac. Undeterred by these challenges, sets out to open these wells. With each well he redigs, Isaac faces contention and strife, and yet he perseveres. He moves from one challenge to the next until he reaches Rehoboth, where he finally finds peace and room to flourish. And what I did with this freaking message, like, oh my goodness, oh man, what I did to this message is, again, the idea was I dug deeper. The series was Fake News That's Not in the Bible. This message was a challenge to every Christian to dig deeper, to determine, like, and I use, let me see. I wish I could highlight some things in here because it has some really good notes, like when resistance meets resolve, persisting amidst adversity. It's all types of stuff, room to flourish. But it was a beautiful message. I remember actually having a lot of fun pulling that one together. Oh yeah, very much so with the descriptive words. And like there is one that I'm gonna hit before we roll out, and I gotta remember it because I know I pulled it, but I have like y'all, like when I say I'm hyper productive, I'm not lying, and many of you are likely the same way. So I have like 50 tabs open on well, just the one screen that I have right here, and that's just on one window, and then I have tabs on this one, then I have tabs on that one over there. So it's a whole bunch of stuff going on, man. So oh man, so I'm trying to see if this is the one. I did one called "We're Just Getting Started." This was one of the pastors was doing a grand opening for one of their new campuses, and they wanted a creative one. And so I literally took this one out of Genesis chapter 1, which the challenge in that for me was I had never preached from Genesis chapter 1 in my entire life. Like I had talked about Genesis in Bible studies just in passing, but I'd never like preached from it. And when I say preached, I mean was able to pull a story out of it that was uplifting and encouraging. Because in many cases that's what preaching equates to in the urban churches. Like I'm gonna go back to something that one of my mentors in one of his message, one of my former mentors, that he used to tell us all the time. It is like he's like you got to make that shanda mean something to somebody who just got her head beat off last night by her husband. You know what I'm saying? You have to make these messages mean something to people who barely made it to church because they didn't have enough food or didn't have enough money and stuff like that. Which again, now thinking back on this, it was like, oh yeah, this is all traumatic. Like yikes. And I did a whole video on that, so I won't go too deep into that. But so much of the preaching experience began trying to find something in this book that could encourage people, that could push people forward. And so trying to find different ways to tell the stories. And so that's why you heard a lot of preachers saying stuff like, see, what you thought it was this, but when you actually explicate it and and do all this bullshit, they're trying to make it sound better than it is, which was ultimately our job. Our job was to take ugly stories such as Jesus calling a woman a dog and make this an absolutely beautiful story about a woman's persistence. And her persistence in this sense is her begging Jesus, being willing to not only to be called a dog, but to say, I'll take the crumbs of the table. And unfortunately, when you preach messages like that as faith, you inadvertently kind of start breeding this mindset that my proper position in life is taking the crumbs and being grateful for them. Okay, see, now that's good. All right. Great. Joel will talk you into feeling good about yourself on any given Sunday. Man, that was not the focus in Southern Baptist Church. Absolutely not. Alyssa, I did have an opportunity to work for the Southern Baptist Organization. It ended up with me in jail, like literally ended up with me in jail. I had to fight felony charges for 2 years. My degrees were absolutely worthless. Well, 2 years, I'm exaggerating. For a year and a few months, but my degrees were absolutely worthless during that time. It was fun. It was fun. But I learned a lot, and I'm stronger for it. Not giving them any credit for it. I'm stronger for it because that's just who the fuck I choose to be. But yeah. Oh, that's hilarious. That's hilarious because that's definitely. Oh man. Oh yeah, yeah. It's wild. It's wild. Yeah, yep. I was definitely a equal opportunist. So I did I fellowship with churches that didn't look like mine. Even though I was definitely a charismatic by all definitions, I only knew that I was a charismatic because that's what other people labeled me as. Typically because I did believe in speaking in tongues, and I did believe in laying hands on the sick, and I did believe in raising the dead, and I did believe in prophecy in my early years. It's so funny because when I go back and look at a lot of my old sermons, hopefully all of them are off YouTube now, but my old sermons from Kingdom Central, a lot of them were like very humanist sermons. But that's why I always tell people, like, I was deconstructing the whole damn time. That last year, 2014, was just the year that I was able to say, okay, I don't have any good reasons to pretend anymore. Like, you know, I don't have any good reasons to pretend like I don't think this isn't real. I think I can be honest. I have not. I do need, well, no, let me take that back. Some of them I have, but most of them are lost on one of my computers, which I still do have the hard drive, so I might be able to recover some of them. And I do have a few of them that are hidden on YouTube, but they will stay that way. And of course, you know, I'm gonna do this real quick. I'm not gonna let it play long, but every now and then let me go over here. Every now and then, I normally show these people this clip because this is actually, I think this is 2014 when I did this one. Right? This might be 2013. This is either 2013 or 2014. I'm not going to play the whole clip because it's 2 minutes long, but this is one that I've shown before on the channel, mainly to show people my weight loss.
Give you this. For my intellectuals, for my people who are not yet sold, why shout? Pastor Ron, why is a shout important? Why is a shout even necessary? What in the world do you need me to shout for? Because in essence, the word shout really just means increase your volume. It means you're not loud enough. Hold on, let me do this real quick. I'm about to give y'all something I ain't getting 9:30. Oftentimes when I'm walking in the grocery store, I always notice that there's one particularly unruly child. And and the child will ask his mama for something, and he'll be like, Mama, let me get them Snickers. And mama be like, no, baby, we ain't got no Snickers money. And he'll be like, okay. Mama, let me get them Snickers. And mama be like, no, baby, we ain't got no Snickers money. Now, y'all got different mamas, so this next part ain't gonna relate to y'all, but you gonna feel me because you done seen it. The next thing the little boy proceeds to do is fall out on the floor. And he opens his mouth as loud as he can. And he's like, Mama! I want a Snickers! Now, everybody else looking at the little boy like he need his behind beat. But if he didn't do nothing else, right or wrong, he got his mama's attention. Because now, she don't want the whole store looking at her like she ain't taking care of her kids. So that she started reaching in her purse. I'ma find you some Snicker money today. I may beat you when you get home, but I'ma find that money right now because you shouted to me. Somebody open your mouth right there.
So yeah, that was me. And so when people ask me like, how did you get this velvety smooth voice? All that damn hollering. That's what did that. That did it. All of that hollering, man, I'm still paying the price. But yeah, I you know, and to this day, like I enjoy the art of communicating with people, and I think it was John. Oh, why can't I remember John's last name right now? John Goodman. He ended up playing the dad in Righteous Gemstones, and he said, you know, one of the things that he learned is that preaching is one of those art forms that doesn't get to be called to be an art form, you know. But it very much is, and it's just a more engaging form of public speaking. But god damn, I enjoyed it. Like the energy, man. It was amazing. It was amazing. So they jumped up and down over a story every black kid lived. That's it. That's it. Because look, preaching in the urban church, especially in the Black urban church, is for the most part kind of like comedy. It follows the same rules of comedy. You know what I'm saying? You open with a story, and you have a series of punchlines that snowball and snowball until they take you right back to the beginning of the story, and like everybody is in there. You know, art form, most deaf. Like it's, and I mean, outside of the stupid shit that gets said, it's absolutely beautiful. And it wasn't so, it took me a long time to appreciate preaching as an art form. I was not, I did not, I was the super holy guy, you know, so preaching is not an art form. It is the anointing. It is the Holy Spirit. It is not I who live, but Christ who lives in me. You know, so it took me years. It took me years. Like the church that clip is at, that church was the first church that I ever technically preached at. Now it's not that clip. That clip is somewhere else. Maybe I'll play that one for y'all on a later situation. But that clip was one of the first times that I had ever did what preachers call hooping. Okay? First time that I did call what preachers call hooping. Now I've been preaching since I was like 11 years old. And the first time I hooped was, I think it was like 2010, 2011. It was insane. It was insane. That video is coming, Don. It is coming. Oh man. Oh man, this is awesome. Right? Oh man. Because I like doing it. Right. It's performance art. I absolutely love doing it, and I still do it. That's why I tell people to this day. I said I was a preacher long before I was a Christian, and I'll continue to be a preacher even after I'm a Christian. That is my art. Me communicating with people, changing my voices all the way through. Like, this is a part of the DaranteLaMar performance art experience. This is the one-man extravaganza. Okay, now let me not go there, because then that shit is gonna become like a meme. This happened to Kwame Ture, Stokely Carmichael, because he was so charismatic and energetic. They ended up giving him the name Star Michael, kind of as like a dig, like, oh, you just want to be the star of the show. But he was really, and everybody who said that would always attest to the fact that, well, anytime someone brought up his ego or felt that he was in the way, he'd always bow out graciously and still help. So it was far from him. But you know, I try to think about it. Being an entertainer, for damn sure, it is, man. Like, and that's what it was for me. I don't like a lot of what Steve Harvey says. Like, I think most of the advice he gives is absolute. Well, I won't say absolute bullshit. There's some gold nuggets in there. But one of the things that Steve Harvey said years ago when he was just talking about his art form as comedy, and it was just like translating the world as he sees it in a way that other people can appreciate it. And that really is what art is at the end of the day. It's translating the world in the way that in the way that you experience it, in the way that you perceive it, in the way that other people can appreciate it, and a way that other people can feel it and vibe off of it. Right? Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty damn bad. It is pretty damn bad. Oh man. You should become an atheist preacher. You know. Oh man, I love it. You know, the Book of Clarence, I absolutely love the artistic value of that movie the whole way through. I just don't appreciate the messaging of it. But it's what I expected. I did expect the messaging to be what it is, because that's always the twist. That's always the twist in our stuff. But hopefully that's changing. I'm writing stories where that's changing for damn sure. Oh, damn it. Okay, so where was I at? Because I got to wrap this up. Oh, yeah, we're just getting started. That was my first time preaching, writing a sermon. And it's not even one that I got to preach, because this is one of the ghostwritten sermons. It was the first time I had ever wrote a sermon from Genesis chapter 1. And literally verse 5, God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. There was evening and there was morning, day 1. And so I'm going to read the introduction from this one. Over the past few weeks, I found myself fascinated and captured by the first chapter of the book of the beginnings. Genesis is perhaps the most popularly quoted book in the whole biblical library. From Adam's sin to Abraham's faith, and Jacob's ladder to Joseph's coat, we can literally shout all the way through Genesis, finding pragmatic principles to encourage our faith. But there's something about the first chapter that has literally arrested my attention. What is it, Pastor? I don't know. Maybe it's the sober yet sacred realization that this is where God got started. As magnificent as this great explosion of divine might expressed in this chapter is, it's just the beginning. Oops, my bad. Did I tell you my title this weekend? Go ahead and lean on somebody and say, we're just getting started. So when I ghost wrote, it was fully transcripted. They didn't have to do anything. All they had to do, which most of them, they'd have to get it that Monday. If they got it on a Saturday night, that meant that they were going to be reading it. So it was going to be in front of them. And if they were extemporaneous, which a lot of black pastors are, then they'd be fine. Now, obviously, these are a different breed of pastors because all pastors don't use notes. So for pastors who don't use notes, there was no market to ghostwrite to them. The first 10 years of me preaching, I didn't use notes. Again, I was that really holy guy. So I felt that using notes were like offensive to the spirit. I felt like using notes was you trying to manipulate God to say what you want God to say. And while this was like absolutely foolish, I cannot lie. I think that practice, outside of the foolish part, I think that practice has played a significant role in my ability to communicate, as far as publicly, to do public communication and to really just be able to have a conversation about almost anything based off of the people that I'm talking to. Because for all of those preachers, well, I won't say all of them, because a great majority of them were just making shit up as they go along and didn't really care about the feedback in the room. But for those other preachers who don't have a lot of notes, they just come up with a title. Those people have to be really good at reading the room. And so I think that it was helpful. It was helpful. Yep, and the energy. You said it. Reading the room and the energy. Man. Yes, extemporaneous. Yes. Look, I had trouble trying to remember the word earlier. I felt good when it came back. But yeah, and that was how I would structure these messages that I'd write for these folks. And let me see, how old was this one? So this one was fairly recent. This is just like 2 or 3 years ago. I almost want to say the pastor's name, which if any of his members are watching, they'll know. As a matter of fact, for any of you who watch any urban pastors, the urban black pastors who are within the mid to mini mega sizes, you pay attention, you might find quite a few Darante-isms in those sermons. Yeah. I think I ended up getting mad because I was like, this should have been a royalty deal. This should have been a licensing deal. I should have allowed them to license the sermons from me. Because I do remember, and this was in the early days, and okay, this is full transparent moment. My church, it grew, very well, but we were a very poor church. So my church struggled financially, horribly. And so, which is why I did a lot of side jobs and I had a lot of side hustles, primarily graphic design. So basically everything I did for my church, I monetized and offered to other people as well. So I had to learn how to do graphic design for the flyers of our church. So I started doing graphic design for other people. I had to learn how to do video editing for the videos at our church. So I started doing video editing for other people. Obviously, I wrote my own sermons. And when I found out that, preachers will pay somebody to write a sermon, I started writing sermons for other people. But the thing that used to I remember that and I would have to, because this is who I was, I'd have to go in my little prayer closet and repent afterwards because I was writing sermons for people. And then they go preach these sermons that I wrote and they go preach these sermons at their church. And they take up these just mind-blowing offerings. And I'm thinking like, geez, you paid me $25 for that. Like, can you at least cut a brother off a little something? And so then like now I always jokingly, especially the last few years, I told one of them, I said, I should start licensing this to where like my sermons are, well, damn it, it is intellectual property. I should have licensed it. Now, okay, I just had a whole damn epiphany. No takebacks, but you know, it is what it is. It is what it is. Oh, never writing your own sermons, but taking a salary feels wrong. It does, doesn't it? It feels like you're kind of cheating it. I would agree. The only reason I don't is because the preaching part of pastoring is really just a very small part, you know? And so it's almost like, you know, every majority of leaders of organizations have a speechwriter or a public relations person. But just in the performance-based church, we often limit the pastor's role to speaking, which is why we do say stuff like he shouldn't be getting paid. All he does is preach, which notice we don't say that about any other profession that's communication-based. But no, that's, you know, and I can't say this for all pastors, but if that pastor has a church that has more than 300 members, then no, he is not just preaching. I assure you that. And even if it's just like 100 to 150 people, he's having to do stuff that, which is always funny to me, but it's just those things, those black church things, you know, that you remember your home church doing. So like he got to go kiss the babies when they're born. He got to go when the people are dying in the hospital. He got to be there to comfort them. He got to preach everybody's funeral, and then he got to do the weddings. And God forbid, don't you mess up somebody's wedding, because then you're going to have half of your members leave your church. Please make sure to handle that funeral right. But then there's also just the logistics of running an organization. The moment you're dealing with more than 5 to 10 people, it is definitely more than just preaching. But it does still feel a little cheapish, right? Like come on, man. Like, because I guess the thing is, for presidents and stuff, we know there's a speechwriter, you know? And I think that is one of the things that did bother me, which, of course, my first few videos that I did coming out as an atheist publicly was dealing with a lot of the disingenuousness in the church. And that was one of those things that bothered me. Like, why can't you just tell the truth? Why can't you just say, listen, guys, I am so busy and I know you're going to want, a fire word this weekend, and I don't have time to do that. Well, the reason why they don't do that is because then you also have to tell people that, yes, it is not God giving me these words to speak. These are human words. They're American English. You know, do you really think God is giving me the message from the windows to the walls? You think God downloaded that into my spirit? But that is funny. Is there like a pyramid with incoming money? God, I wish. Money is so backwards in the church, you know. Where you, the closest you can get to the pyramid type of structures, and even then it's not pyramid, because it's I don't even know what you call it. It's not good. It's not good, but it's this thing of giving money up, which I'm trying. While I'm saying it, I'm trying to think if there is any other type of organizational structure that does the same thing. But this is something that I participated in, which is giving money up. That's not what they call it, but that's damn sure what it is. And that is pastors, if they have a mentor, then they typically tithe to that pastor. Yes, it's not pyramid because it's not a thing where you can benefit from bringing more people in. So there were other pastors, like my mentor was under another guy who was building a large network of pastors, kind of doing what Ivy Hillyard was doing, and giving them access to his sermons and stuff like that. And he would go out and kind of my mentor would go out and encourage other people to, get into it. But he got nothing from it. Now, truth be told, if it was a pyramid, it probably would have been much more productive and effective. Church is probably the only institution that you could build a sustainable pyramid structure because there is no expectations of realistic outcomes. So if it doesn't work, we just say, oh, God must not be moving this time. Oh, man. It should have been 1%. It was not. Unfortunately, the first 32 years of my life, I had a horrible relationship with money because I was one of those true believers who really did believe that money was the root of all evil and the corrupter of souls. And so I spent the first 2 decades of my life lowballing myself horribly. And so like I started at just $25 a sermon. And then I moved it up to $50. It was only after I became an atheist that it jumped up to 150 per sermon. And that was only if you were a friend. Oh man. Yeah, it was very interesting. Dang it, I had a rabbit. That rabbit is gone. Yep, offerings did. It's so funny. And it's not just offerings, it's offerings and attendance, right? So first Sundays, everybody's getting paid. Everybody's getting paid for the most part that weekend. Giving is always higher on first Sundays than it is on second through fourth Sundays. Fifth Sundays is often an outlier that changes throughout the year based off where it falls seasonally. So first Sundays are your high Sundays. Fifth Sundays are often your high Sundays as well. First and fifth is always going to be higher than second, third, and fourth, both in giving and both in attendance. And those two things are correlated. You're going to have a higher offering because you have more people who are participating, who are showing up. Summer, winter, spring, and fall, all of these had to be treated differently. Do preachers fight over the good Sundays? By far and large, no. They just fight over the good members, which is why when you go watch it, go into a lot of churches, you'll find that a lot of these churches just kind of recycle members. And these members just kind of go around, they'll get mad at this church and go to another church. It's a very interesting phenomenon, very much so. Oh, man. It's interesting. The way money works in church is it's different for many churches, many different denominations. Now, I will say it's the most unpopular types of churches that are the most effective with their financial management. Now they're not safeguarded from scams because no institution that has people involved in it will be. Not yet, because stealing money is not a church problem. It's a people problem. I often remind people of that, of all the problems. All the problems are people problems. But yeah, it's a very interesting thing. I know, like for your more established denominations, your Methodist, your Southern Baptist, or your UMC, your AME, your more established denominations, they have more processes and controls in place that keep them from, doing too much. But I think what most people will be shocked to find is that a larger a church grows, the harder it is to get away with really scammy stuff. And so like quite a few of the mega pastors, and this is the hard part, because when I say scammy, I'm talking about legalities, not necessarily right or wrong, legal or illegal, right? Asking somebody to donate to pay for your jet, like that's probably not a great thing to do, but it's absolutely not an illegal thing to do. You can do that. Again, should you? So those things I've never been for. I don't like that at all. But quite a few of the mega pastors don't do stuff like that, and most of them actually take modest salaries, comparable to the size of organizations they lead. And the bulk of their money ends up coming from traveling and books and music. Even though all of the books are saying the same bullshit. All the books are the same bullshit. You can pull them all together. God wanted me to have a new jet because God wants me to be comfortable when I'm flying from here over into the Asian and African hitherlands to preach the gospel. God doesn't want me waiting and coach. God doesn't want me have to be, and these were literally the things that were say, you know, and when you hear him as a member of that church, as a supporter of that organization, as a partner of that organization, it makes sense. And in many times they did not hide that it was for very practical, if you will, reasons, or that it was for very human reasons, or it was very personal reasons. They just did a good job of coupling it with this is what God wants us to do, you know. Oh, that's right. The jet is needed to quickly spread the. Oh man, because I remember Creflo started a church in New York, and that was when he got his members to do that offering for his jet. And the thing was, you know, God needs us in New York, and if we had to drive up there, then, you know, oh man, how would we work out Sunday morning? And this is kind of like, you know, hiding the rabbit is what I call it, you know, because it's like you baked in this problem that's really not a problem. And if this is a problem, it speaks to the inadequacy of your God. If the problem is that God can't get somebody else to preach the gospel in New York without you having a jet, then wow, this God is really bad at getting people to do his work. Oh man. Yep. No, and that happens in a lot of the smaller churches. I did a smaller to mid-sized churches, medium churches, and I did do a video on that. Or did I? I did the notes on it. I don't know if I did the video. I have to check through my notes and see if I've done a video on it, because that's what gets overlooked. You know, the mega churches have boards, so whatever's going on there is collaborative and cooperative. The churches that are absolutely running roughshod on these people are the churches where the pastor is the only line of authority. And that's typically in your small to mid-sized churches. For example, there was a pastor I don't know if it was last year or the year before last, that got caught up in an insurance scam of claiming that he was robbed while preaching at church, and that he had several, you know, of his jewelry, him and his wife had stolen. And it turned out to be like hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of jewelry that they were wearing, and that, you know, and that they had. And I mean, like, it was horrible. Their church had less than 80 members. It was a storefront church. But those type of pastors often fly under the radar because they're not known, they're not on, you know, TBN, so they're not easy prey. But these are the ones doing the most damage. These are the ones who are going to people's bedsides telling people that, you know, if you don't sow your seed or sign over your life insurance over to the church, then God is not going to take care of, you know, boobop them after you gone. And it's sick. These are the type of people, like they're and it's not just financial abuse that takes place in these churches. There's all types of sexual abuse that takes place in these churches. And these, nobody talks about it because they're little storefront churches that for some reason we have this ideology that, oh, big church means bad wolf, small church means people trying to do right. They just don't know any better. No, the wolves are in the small churches. They're in the small to mid-sized churches, and I'm telling you, they are raping people over the coal. They are psychologically abusing people, because those are the only. Okay, I've said enough. It's horrible. It's horrible out there. You have to answer to the higher ups. That's right. They leave the larger organizations so they can get, you know, kind of get away with things. And, you know, I remind people, churches for the most part are community organizations. The larger it is, the harder it is to kind of get away with stuff, unless you have built a cult of personality. It's a little easier then, but then even on certain aspects. But like, and again, that's what I want to point out again. That small church with 80 members, that church had not one millionaire as a member of that church. But that pastor has on, you know, jewelry that's worth hundreds of thousands, him and his wife. That church has not one millionaire. You understand? That's why I say they're more dangerous, because the thing that that doesn't get talked about is that a lot of those mega churches, it's not just poor people that go to those churches, you know. So some of those people that they're asking for the jet, while I'm sure that some of the poor people are given, you know, it ain't them that's paying for the jet. Like Evander Holyfield was a member of Creflo's church for a very long time. And then he switched over to New Birth with Bishop Long. And then he switched back to Creflo. But I told you, they're fighting over the members, you know. And so a lot of those mega churches do have like NFL players, NBA players, boxers, artists, and things like that. And so a good bit of that partnership money, as we'll call that, comes from there. Tithing whales. Tithing. Oh, that is exactly what the fuck that is. Oh, tithing whales. It's the Moby Dick of tithing, man. I think I put a little bit too much emphasis on dick there. Okay, so all right, I think I'm done. I've said a lot. How long have we been on? Oh yeah, I did good. Oh, this was perfect timing. Oh man. That is very true. I'm going to put that on the screen just because that's something that people don't actually, a lot of people don't know how the dynamics works for churches. Most prosperity churches do slowly lose their poor members and suddenly have all very successful members. And that becomes the mind of the mindset or the narrative that our members are wealthy because of what pastor's teaching. It becomes that idea instead of paying attention to the fact that poor people really stop feeling comfortable in these churches because we know how kind of classism works, you know, in these countries, just how class works, period. You run into a lot of friction and then all of a sudden it's hard to keep up. I know. And this is why I was on the kind of other extreme, in my church, I didn't wear suits, you know, so I preached in t-shirts, button-up shirt, and jeans for the most part because I didn't want to, you know, have that dynamic. And that made poor people feel very comfortable at my church. And so my church was 100% poor. We struggled, but Kingdom Central was like one of the best experiences in my life. I just couldn't get up in front of them and continue to say stuff that I didn't believe. And I know that based off of where they were in their lives, where they were in their lives, they wouldn't have been able to love me beyond their own superstition. And so if I would have came in that final Sunday and said, hey, listen, y'all, pastor no longer believes in this, but I still want to help you grow. And as a matter of fact, I want to be committed to your personal development more so than I've ever been before. I want to be committed to just sharing healthy stuff and making sure this pulpit is there for this. There is not one member in that church who would have said, you know, oh, pastor, that's beautiful. Let us, let's do this. It would have been, nope, you are demon possessed. The devil is in here. And pastor, they told me something wasn't right about you. Ever since you let them Christian rappers come in here in the church, they told me then that was a red flag, which they already thought I was the devil anyway, because the walls in my church were black. I painted out, and I don't know, like people come up with weird reasons to associate things with stuff, but I blacked out my walls for the ambiance. Again, I come from a performance background, and so it made sense. And it looked really neat. Doing more with less has always been kind of a thing of mine. And so like, man, preachers getting canceled. Like, oh yeah, man, I would have been canceled so quick. But it didn't matter because I just decided to cancel myself, you know. And that was just understanding that sociological nuance, understanding that I wouldn't have the freedom, even if I would have decided to say, okay, you know what, I'm going to slowly do this. That slowly would have been painful, and I wouldn't have had the freedom to kind of explore the way that I needed to explore. Man, what you say? Black walls, black magic. Hilarious black magic. That's it. That's what it was. Some of the older people, like the older churches in the community, they didn't like my church because we didn't do baptisms, we didn't do communions. Like I only did baptism like 2 times at my church, and that was just because it was a hot summer and it was a fun way to get people to church, you know. So instead of doing like a baptism thing, went and got a big pool and set it up on the church's property. It was awesome. I think other people saw in me what I clearly couldn't see, and that I was clearly no longer a Christian. Like for me, it was clearly becoming about the people and about creating experiences. Like our music department was so dope, and I had to struggle to make it dope. Like we didn't have the best singers, we didn't even have the best musicians. Like I had to struggle to make this thing dope, and I did. It was so damn dope. It was so hype. I'd mix gospel songs with like what we called worldly songs or secular songs back then all the time. It looks like my internet is starting to trip out a little bit. Oh, hell no. Like unacceptable. It was unacceptable. But it was like I had come to this place in my theology where it was like these things didn't have utility. And unfortunately for me, looking at them, I saw so many people wrestling with how they felt about themselves in connection to these things. And I couldn't find real reason in scripture to make these things dogmatic. And so I didn't even want to make them a focus, because there were people who'd be like absolutely trepidatious before taking communion. Like, oh, I hope I haven't done anything wrong, because like God might kill me or strike me dead if I'm taking communion unworthily. And I'm like, what the fuck? You know, and there were people, you know, taking communion with the understanding that if I take communion, God is going to heal my body, because by his stripes I am healed. And then when they're not healed after communion, because then they're going into communion with this expectation that something great and magnificent is getting ready to happen, and then it doesn't happen. And I'm just like, oh, this is kind of damaging. And from me just having the freedom to look at the Bible and make my own decisions, I don't see anything in the Bible that tells me that I have to do this way, you know. And by this time, I was already away from my non-literal interpretation of scripture. And so I was telling people by this time is that communion at the end of the day is just fellowship. It's us coming together. That's communion. We commune together all the time. Every Sunday we commune. Why we about to come here and eat some stale wafers and drink some nasty ass juice, you know, just to make you feel like you okay with your God? If your God needs you to eat crackers and juice, then just eat crackers and juice at home. But why would he only need you to eat crackers and juice on the first Sunday and not every day? That's crackers and juice should be your diet from this point on. Oh man, I love it. I love it. Okay. So many questions, so little time. And basically believed in magic spells. That's right. Like I remember having that moment of like, because we were praying against the rain one time, and I was like, but we call like Native Americans superstitious for doing rain dances. Like, what's the difference between dancing for rain and praying for rain? Different incantation, same spell. You know what I'm saying? What is it? Different mask, same task. All right, those for you Comic-Con fellas. I don't ever talk about my other stuff, but I do want to have some conversations with some folk about what's going on in the Marvel universe. That's just me nerding out a little bit. Yeah, like literally, non-literally, what's the fucking difference? Right, yes. It's only magic if the devil does it. Oh my goodness. This is okay. I didn't mean to click that, but I did. I'm not playing favorites, I promise. Right, man. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I've had lots and lots of moments with the Holy Spirit, and they were all beautiful. They were all a part of my development. I now just realized that all of those moments was with me and the many voices that I can conjure in my head. And I can conjure a few. I can have whole conversations up here. Somebody might want to check that out. Meditation and yoga. Yep. Which is funny. I do have a video coming up on meditation because I accidentally started meditating. Meditation was an accident for me. Oh man. Okay, so I got to get out of here. Again, next week, ex Bible study with an ex-pastor, is changing. We're going to have Jason from Dragons and Genesis with us. We're going to have one hell of a good time, and we're going to be going live, and we're going to be having great conversation. And, you know, and then actually just kind of after, like, I think this may be my first time going live on and actually staying on for this long and just having conversation and flowing. Y'all made this feel so comfortable that I made this a little bit more, because this was absolutely amazing. Like, I'm sweating. Like, thankfully y'all can't see it because of the fog and whatever's in here. I was gonna say phase, but I don't think that's what I'm looking for. But yeah, this has been great. I'm looking forward to next week. I may do some more stuff like this. If you haven't checked out the ex-Pastor Call-In show from this past Sunday, you better go watch it. It was amazing. Oh, I do have one other announcement. Well, I'm making this announcement tomorrow, or uploading it tomorrow. Many of you know that I was joining Heathen as one of the regular hosts of the show. As of yesterday, I've made the decision not to do so. I'll be sharing a video tomorrow explaining the why. And just to be clear, because this is actually why I'm doing the video, it is nothing bad. There is no bad blood. It's a logistical issue, and that's what I'll go over in that video. But we'll talk a little bit about that later. Let me see how I want to close us out here. I got to get back to this thing in StreamYard. Running this by myself while trying to talk to y'all and read in the chat is not fun. But I do know eventually we are going to get us some, what are those things called? Chat moderators and all that stuff in here, and StreamYard moderators. But I love y'all so much. I love the conversations that are breaking out in the chat. Please remember to share this video, like this video, subscribe to this channel, hit the alert notification bell. Hey, participate in the poll, just because I just like to see your thoughts. Consider connecting with this community in any way that makes sense to you. You know, that is hilarious. In any way that makes sense to you. I guess I can go ahead and start the altar call music now. But I am rolling up out of here. Again, I love y'all so much, man. Until next time, keep rising, stay progressive, stay beautiful, see the good, all that good stuff. I'm out.
jwoodbeats.com.
I can do anything. Fuck your opinions and energy. I finally got the epitome. My biggest hindrance was God can't do nothing but fail. Greater is me. I never needed your deity. All of this human capacity. When it gets rough, I can pick myself up and prevail. I can do anything. Fuck your opinions and energy. I finally got the epitome. My biggest hindrance was God can't do nothing but fail. Greater is me. I never needed your deity. All of this human capacity. When it gets rough, I can pick myself up and prevail.